Okay, how's it going out there? Good? All right, let's talk about naming the quadrant based upon these trig restrictions. So first, I drew a picture over here to remind ourselves of what the quadrants look like. So remember, the labeling is counterclockwise. So quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4. Agreed? And here, I put what your x and y represent. In quadrant 1, x is positive, y is positive. In quadrant 2, x is negative, y is positive, etc., right? Okay. Now, something else I decided to label was when you are dealing with the x's, which basic trig function deals with the x's? Cosine does, right? Because cosine is either x over r or just x over 1 if it's the unit circle. And sine deals with the y's because that could be y over r or just y over 1 if it's the unit circle. Agreed? All right, so I did that for all 4 quadrants, so I keep in my brain what this is going to look like as I work with these restrictions. So let's look at the first part. It's telling me the sine of theta is greater than 0. So I need to know where sine is positive, because positive numbers are greater than 0. Well, sine is the y value, so that's either quadrant 1 or quadrant 2. Cool? But the other part of the restriction is cosine of theta is less than 0, which means cosine is negative, which means your x's are negative. That would be quadrants 2 and 3. 2 or 3. Okay, now this and means it's kind of like an intersection. So where do these two restrictions, so to speak, overlap? Yeah, the one thing they have in common is quadrant 2. Quadrant 2 is where your sine is going to be positive and your cosine is going to be negative. Does that make sense? Is this good? Wonderful. I've got some examples coming your way. Oh, so wait a minute now. You've got to work on them before you go find my answer key video, remember? Okay, cool. Catch you on the flip side.